With this week's video, I want you to imagine that you're a prospective student interested in attending the School of the Gifted University. No, it doesn't exist, but if it ever does, be sure to invite me. I need you to imagine also that the dean of the university called me into his office and said this: Rick, you're a great communicator, one of our best. I want you to have the privilege of giving this large group of prospective students the tour around campus. But wait, give them the full experience. So, before we get started, let's recap the previous videos. Last week, we delved into a personalized concept of thinking like a programmer, so we could use that mental model to then choose a project we could work on or build. Then, I shared a tidbit of my story to stress the importance and hopefully persuade you into wanting to choose yourself as a project you build. Now, this week, if you are a hands-on type of learner or a visual learner, this video is definitely for you. I'm going to give you a full tour of beginner level all the way to advanced level creative uses when it comes to using Notion or applications like Notion. Let's get into it. At a beginner level using Notion or a note-taking application similar, you're probably keeping it simple by creating a page or two here and there, aka when you remember to do so, and not really using the creative side of yourself. It's just an app you write down an address or two, or save a confirmation number in, or write a few passwords down so you don't forget them. Now, at this level, you probably do have expertise, but never really consider writing anything concrete down, either because you don't make time, you don't really have much time, or you struggle with procrastination, or laziness is usually more fun than getting a little more productive or being proactive after using your brain or body all day at work. I get it. And level 2, you're probably opening the app more often than usual because you use it for reminders, proactively take notes, and probably even like to include some journaling time somewhere in your day. In this level, it's still not tickling your creative sensories yet, and sort of like a chore because there's often days you want to use the application while other days you don't really think about it and it's just another app in your phone or computer or devices, etc. At level 3, you're not thinking of this application like a chore anymore, but it is still just one big old database where you store stuff and take notes among other things. Now you're thinking about productivity and maximizing your time or catering to your daily schedule. Therefore, as an example, Notion is now something you notice has great potential, and there's some promising results in this unique application to keep you organized. At this level, your creative mind is waking up to the opportunities, but more on the selfish aspect, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you probably know how to connect some integrations that pay tribute to keeping you organized, mid to high level productive, and you can make many great connections with thoughts, ideas, etc. at this level. And level 4, you're what some would call a prince of the kingdom of productivity. And Notion, or applications like Notion, are how you track your daily to-dos, run your business, the works. Everything is centered around the application, where it's like a daily ritual to brainstorm, track online progress and analytics, build presentations, store knowledge, and communicate with your team, or where you're the flat-out operations manager. In this level, you're a prince of the kingdom of productivity because the next level is technically graduation. Once you've reached level 5 or above, Notion, or applications like Notion, I feel like I've said that a lot, they're pretty much a home to your everyday dashboard, where you actively build projects on top of the platform, perhaps even build a software as a service, like starting a self-taught online school, or you don't just build a second brain, but you scale projects that can rebuild or help people build skill sets. And even though it's a punishing word nowadays, you're sort of considered like a guru in your niche. At this level, your creativity is always flowing. Your ideas are a lot more treasured and make you sort of a magnetic, passionate person that probably actually cares about the growth of others around you, and so on. So today, we're going to walk through building a low-level project within Notion. And I will say, if you don't want to use Notion, cool. but I definitely, at least for the sake of this content or this subject matter, please try to use Notion. That way you can gather the understanding and then perhaps take it over to the application of your choosing. What our goal is to connect our understanding with our creative aspirations. That way, if you're anything like me and you have a paid Notion account, we're just making sure that your penny is well invested. And with that said, if you're not familiar with Notion, please pause this video and go search YouTube or check Notion's tutorials that they already have existing for their platform and get up to par. Once you're up to par, you can come back to this video and continue on, or you could just keep watching through this video so you can kind of get this intake some of the information right and then go learn about the tutorials and whatnot, or how to use the platform. I just feel like there's plenty of content flooding YouTube as far as learning how to use the basics. So I don't want to waste time on that. And last but not least, please don't get stuck in tutorial hell trying to figure out only the basics. You know what I mean? Don't get stuck there. Make sure that you just get a good brief overview and then kind of play around with it and then get back to this. With that said, let's hop into it.
With this section, we're going to build a basic tracking system. Because if you've never heard it before, they say building systems is the smart way to win in your life. So within Notion, you can follow along in this video as I will build out a dashboard to give you a basic idea of a level 1 and level 2 methods to use Notion.
we're gonna just hop right into this. One thing I want to say is, if you're anything like me, I do a lot of research, different things, just to stay proactive and kind of like always learning slash trying to stay ahead of the curve with what may be coming up, right? Like there's always new AI tools, there's always new software building tools, there's always new applications, there's always new platforms, there's always new something, right? And I like to be at the edge of the new technologies. Now, in order to make this kind of, I guess I would try to make it fun and engaging, we're going to build a vault, all right? A vault meaning this is where if you went and studied philosophy or psychology, then in our vault, we're going to categorize philosophy under its own category, obviously, or psychology is going to be separate and it's going to be its own vault or its own database, right? So we're going to explore the whole concept just live and I'm going to let this just flow. And whether I make mistakes or not, who cares? I'm completely human, right? And I'm not perfect. So let's just get into this and walk through it together as fun and excited as we can. And yeah, I hope that my hopes are, and I know that you'll find some type of this very useful or a lot of this useful. And yeah, if I was rebuilding myself, this is the way that I would approach it, and this is the exact way I did approach it years back. I understood that there's some changes I need to make, and in order to do so, I am also a hands-on type of person, so I got to see it to do it, right, to learn it, and also a visual learner where I can get imaginative and envision it, and then see how I can bring it to life, right? Whereas in right here, we want to think about different compartments within our mind, right? If there's no definition of what the mind really is, then let's try through this content or um, this material. Let's try to give the abstract some visual, right? And by doing so, we're gonna start by calling this just a vault, right? This is where we're gonna store everything. And right here, you've already got a table where you can include in there. And we're gonna start a new table. This table is gonna store every category that we could ever think of when we're researching. All right. So let's say, for example, that we've been studying psychology. I was like, wait, yeah, I'm not spelling that right. There you go. Okay, so psychology is one department or one compartment, right? Or one category of our overarching idea that we want to research about, right? And within this page, we're going to make it a full page. We want to store everything that we could possibly get inside of this database. So let's add another database. I'm going to do a gallery view because that one is really, really cool. This is going to be a new gallery, all right? I'm going to add some icons. Let's go with the brain, I guess. Excuse me. And sorry if you hear my phone in the background. Actually, let me turn it on vibrate. All right. And we're going to go, let's look for something within psychology. I know this is just the basics of being creative, quote unquote, but it actually makes it more exciting to see. To me, anything visual grabs my attention. And if you know what I mean, if I'm not trying to give away all the secrets, but if it looks visually appealing, I'm going to go check it out. And if it doesn't, and it just seems dull, I'm going to be like, you know, I'm not really the guy to see what this is. But yeah, it's inside us all. Okay, cool. Let's leave that there. All right. So now we have pages already pre-existing within this database. And let's say that this page is where we studied a new course. This new course is Sci 101, right? Can decorate this a little bit. This is our first course. Just leave that color, or actually, yeah, let's leave that color. Clear this page. All right. And this is where we'll put all our technical knowledge of Sci 101, right? All the notes that we might have taken from the book that we might have read. Let's say that I learned how to understand Niches. Wait, I'm spelling that wrong. I know I'm spelling it wrong, but don't be so hard on me. Learn how to understand niches point of view. And it made me think totally outside the box when questioning and searching for answers. In general, I guess I would say, yeah. All right. I learned. All right, let's put I learned. Jesus. The Grammarly, man, all day. Yeah, again, I'm not going to be looking for all of the um, spelling and grammar mistakes. We're just going to keep it to a minimum at least and walk through this in the best way possible. So, yeah, what we would call this, right? Here's this page. This is one block, right? Here's this database where we've got uh, categories within psychology, right? Jesus. Within psychology. And anytime that we go back, say we get off of work, right? And I want to spend 1 hour at least reading a book having to do with psychology, or I'm listening to an audiobook when I go to work. And today I happen to remember, hey, you know what? There was something I picked up from that audiobook. I'm going to write it down, create a new page for that audiobook, and stick it in here. Audiobook about psychology, right? We're just giving these very basic titles. Obviously, you want to keep it more associated and closely associated to what you're learning and whatnot. Man, I don't know why my train of thought is just all over the place sometimes. But yeah, so this is what this database would look like, right? Or this smart database would look like as far as you installing your knowledge into each of these pages. Now, the point I want to make is that yes, you could use, now we have AI inventions where you could go get information like extremely quickly. But there are some problems still, right? Not everything could be real, whereas some language models can make up stuff. And if you don't go and look at the backbones of it and you kind of put it in your knowledge bank, right? That investment might be uh, wrong as far as just going to give the AI a prompt and then you come back and put the answer, copy and paste directly in here and never research in depth where it got that information. I mean, especially if the artificial intelligence has access to the whole internet, there's people out there, unfortunately, that put false information, right? Or that put just random stuff that they think about, and it's all over the place. While there's other people that like what do you call it? Research papers. Um, Obviously, there's amazing and great journalists out there that probably publish some amazing work, but you gotta go sifting through there looking for them everywhere. And the point I'm making is that to be safe, right? When you're including, you are already a smart being, just being able to make a library like this, a knowledge library or a vault like this. And then when you're adding the super smart stuff, walk, tread those lines very safely as you possibly can. Don't get easily, what is it, swept away by the winds of the ocean, um, by everything that you read. So yeah, this is what one little database would look like. Obviously, you could add a bunch of cool stuff. You know what I mean? You can categorize this and then create a whole new database if you're already tired of the way that looks, and so on. Numerous ways you can go about it. As far as this database, let's say that psychology, right? You want to go above and beyond and exceed your own personal expectations by number one. A great thing about Gemini AI is that you can now, well, actually, not even just Gemini in general, both Gemini and Notebook LM. You can go and now conversate with your own PDF files. So let's say that you've compiled a whole um, database like this one, full of information, research, and such within this vault, right? Yet now you can take the whole link to Notebook LM and start creating content revolving that, right? You can explore your ideas and your research much more deeper, much more in depth, to the point where it is it's now high potential for you to have super intelligence, because not only are you researching and sifting through information, much like how programmers would send or go scrape websites. If you know about that, right? They would scrape websites for specific criteria, and then bring the after they're done scraping that website, it brings all that information, compiles it into one thing, and then boom, it's packaged, and you can you've got, you know what I mean, a little mini data package or database full of possibly SEO content, possibly key points on how you can. It's just it's mind blowing the things that we are super capable of nowadays, man. I'm not gonna go too far in depth with that. I think that's like a whole other topic. So yeah, now now that I've got to break down what I'm meaning as far as this type of vault, right? Let's go back to the actual vault, right? So that's just one category in psychology. Like we mentioned earlier, we got philosophy, philosophia, right? I think that's Greek. Philosophy. Let's put a book here. Philosophy. Mm, this one looks neat. Really, really neat. Yeah, let's reposition it there. And now we want to add a database within Philosophia. We can make this one the gallery view as well. Category for Philos. All right. And again, you would just start building out your internal library and personalized library of anything revolving around philosophia or philosophy in general. I'm telling you, one thing I first did when I started building my quote unquote internal libraries or my knowledge banks or my AKA second brain, I was initially concerned for my own mental health. That was the only reason I started it in general. And that was because I was studying so much stuff, reading the Bible a lot, and reading a lot of criteria from the internet, and cramming it all inside. It felt like my brain was so full of stuff that I needed to freaking, put it on some paper, put it somewhere, so that way I could start um, sifting through that stuff and just figure out the directions that I wanted to go with it. And little by little, as I kept going, building and writing and thinking and just dissecting each one of these ideas and thoughts and all this information, I started to find that, hey, this is like shaping a lot of purpose somehow, some way. I don't know how any other words to explain it, but the more questions that I kept asking and the more answers to an extent that I could find, right? Obviously, I won't find answers to every single thing, but I'm very optimistic, and I'm going to tell you, I'm naively optimistic when it comes to optimism. So when I tell you that I will try to find an answer to something, I will, I would probably spend a whole lifetime trying to find answers. You know what I mean? Until I could get some type of close to concrete answer. But anyways, that's another topic for another day. But yeah, we could start with that. Now that we have our vault, right? Let's say that we want to go a step further, and we want to create a self-taught online course, because now that we have our where is it at? Now that we have our vault, right? We can move this to favorites. I'll just add that to favorites so that way I can find it quicker. Now that we have our vault and it's full of research, full of reliable resources, uh, audiobook notes, research notes, obviously, all of the stuff that you could practically think of. Where back in the days, people used to have to use so much paper, so much, uh, so many books, check out so many books. Where as today, I mean, I really respect authors, I really do. But when I could get access to something in a different way without having to spend so much money, you know what I mean? I will use access to that. Mainly, it's like .org libraries where you could probably use like a local library card to go check out books for free. Or, I'm not going to lie, you didn't hear it from me. You could try YouTube and research free audiobooks, but you didn't hear it from me. So yeah, let's say that you want to start a self-taught online course, and you feel, or you believe, not just feel, but you believe now that you have enough confidence in yourself and enough research that you can compile this together. So we want to build the face of our intake, right? Which would be the website. You could build a website from Notion and then go right over here to share it and publish the site, where it'll create its own little website page for those of you that don't know. And then Notion will host it on the web for you through their methods of link creation and URL creation and so on. I'm not going to go into the science of explaining that, but let's publish it for now, right? We can publish it, and then we want to go to the page. Let's view the site. So as we build the website, we could check out all the changes. Okay, so here's the face of our intake. So welcome to the Vault University, right? And then we'll just leave that, and let's add a quick cover, and boom. Now we refresh the page, and we're literally working web development in a live on a live page. It's amazing. It's amazing the things that you could do with Notion. So what I'm saying overall with why I wanted to walk through this simple, um, I guess, get down is that when you think like a programmer, um, you can't just make one whole algorithm and then solve every problem with that one algorithm, right? Um, for myself, let me use myself as an example. And what I mean by the algorithm thing is I am considered like a one man team, right? And I'm the one algorithm, and I have multiple skill sets. Now, you can use one algorithm to solve many problems, but you got to be everywhere at once, right? And I can't, obviously, I'm just a human being. I don't have godlike superpowers in that context where I'm omniscient, right? Whereas when breaking down a problem, or if you can learn, if or when you can learn how to make smaller algorithms, right? Like how you get the idea to create an online course or online self-taught university, then each course is a small algorithm. That's how we're thinking, like a programmer in the context of natural language, or just by you know what I mean, communicating right now in English, not in a programming language. But our programming language is English, right? And we want to build the course, so we got to make the outline. Whereas you can get great ideas from an artificial intelligence for that, as far as the outline, right? It's good. It's okay to be ethical in that context. I just don't like to push the practice of always going to AI for every single little thing that you do. I don't do it myself, but I do use it actively and so on. So when we're breaking down a problem, like thinking like a programmer, we we want to think of it like ABC blocks, right? And in order to get to the top block, we need a what? A foundation. A foundation of block A, and then block B, block C, and block D, and then go to the next layer for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and then the rest, right? In order to find the foundation, or the first A block for our first algorithm, quote unquote, or in other words, like we mentioned a couple weeks back, our first algorithm, or our first problem that we need to solve, which would be, if I have a 9 to 5, 9 to 5 hour work week or work day, right? I go in at 9, get out at 5. Then my first problem could possibly be that I want to start a side project, even if I don't make money from it, right? But I don't know how to approach it. So I need to think like a programmer by thinking about the steps it takes to narrow down what type of side project I want to build, right? And if it's, for example, a online self-taught university, then your first block or first algorithm is to master or get close to mastering a research method, I would suggest, right? So without the research to back you up, or other mindsets or other people that search the same things as you or have done the research, right? Forefathers or whatever you want to call them, and they've compiled that research, people that can share your perspective or similar perspectives that can back you up in the things that you do, right? And in order to solve the first problem is to make time out of your day once you get out of that 9 to 5, right? And once you solve that problem and you start to make time, like at least an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, you commit to a time schedule. 3 days a week, I'm gonna spend 1 or 2 hours, right? Then you finally start to commit, and that's where we call it habitual change, right? Or habit changes, because your normal day, I used to be the type of guy that would get off of work from my 9 to 5, and then I have my kids running around all over the place. I gotta help the wife clean up the house, and I'm tired as heck. I was gonna say a different word, and you know what I mean. I go from work frustration to then parenting frustration because the house isn't clean, and now I gotta put my work frustration back into its place and leave it at work. Whereas I know I'm gonna go back to that frustration the next day. Therefore, I gotta start parenting and cleaning and doing things that I don't like. Like, it's a whole mixture of stuff. And trust me when I say I get it. Sometimes I don't want to do smack. I just want to kick back, grab a beer, pop it open, put on the game, and say, everybody shut the hell up. Unfortunately, my mind doesn't work that way all the time. And I am a huge uh, gather knowledge guy. So this is where this comes in handy when you want to think differently and make actual changes in how you pursue actionable change, right? And how you create those changes. Thinking like a programmer, quote unquote, is not to say that you're acting as God. All I'm saying is that you take the responsibility over the habits that you choose to interact with daily. Whereas if you get off of work from 9 to 5, you choose to commit to the solid 1 or 2 hours, come into your vault and install some research or some notes into that one library, compile enough to where you spent a solid 30 days, and then think about, well, what is it that I feel passionate about? What is it that this research is actually doing for me? Am I applying the research, right? Make up a page for that in general, where you're thinking about, is this stuff actually affecting me in my life, or is it not contributing anything, right? And if it's not, it doesn't mean that the research is wrong. It just means that maybe you got to search a little bit more in depth, right? And once you start to see those actions or those changes in the realities around you, or at least in the habits that you used to have, right? If you, let's say it's a year from today that you finally made that choice, right? Let's say today is that day that you made the choice to start changing those habits. And then a year from now, it's like the Bible. When you read a scripture once, you go back a year later, it's not the same. It's either you grew or you didn't, right? And if you didn't, why didn't you? Right? And figuring out how to question these types of things, or not just strategically, but to think in ways where, how could this be one tool to my growth, and not necessarily have to share everything on the internet. This is simply an example, but to the point where you get to a comfortable place in your life and you do want to share those types of things, and if it does happen to bring some type of income, great, right? Do you. But if you're not that type of person and you just want to change a little bit about yourself, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be better, right? Usually when you want to be better, life gets harder, and it doesn't get hard for no reason. Um, so yeah, I just feel like I went off a lot, and hopefully this video did help you out to some extent. And I believe that just simply walking through just those small things really will put into perspective what you're capable of and what the possibilities can be. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in starting a business, I have one say in this. Check out the link down below, my affiliate link. It's called Dun&Bradstreet. If you have any questions, comment down below in this comment section. Peace out. I'm Rick J. Reyna Jr., and this is The First Five.